Bottom line is that there is a roadmap to chart our 5G future. And now is the time to make that happen. Let's lead the world in 5G deployment. We're already seeing the industry gearing up to seize this opportunity. I have seen 5G hardware and firmware. The technology is here. It is also important, however, to recognize that 5G technology will be a constant evolution. It would be a mistake to think that 5G can be frozen in a snapshot. It's more like a video, with many new scenes, all building on each other. The systems and standards for 5G will be continually improving and evolving. And on the network side, Verizon and AT&T tell us they'll begin deploying 5G trials in 2017. And these efforts will, of course, help inform the standards process by putting stakes in the ground. And the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. This timeline requires that we act to pave the path today. With the new rules that I am proposing in our Spectrum Frontiers order, we take our most significant step yet down the path to our 5G future. The big game changer is that 5G will use much higher frequency bands than previously thought viable for mobile broadband and other applications. Such millimeter wave signals have physical properties that are both a limitation and a strength. They tend to travel best in narrow and straight lines, and they do not go through physical objects as well. This means that very narrow signals in an urban environment tend to bounce around buildings and other obstacles, making it difficult to connect to a moving point. But brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals, coupled with sophisticated processing that allows a moving device to pick up all of the signals that are bouncing around and create one coherent connection. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive, requiring massive deployment of small cells. But it also opens up unprecedented opportunities for frequency reuse in denser, more localized networks. The ability to use this high-frequency spectrum opens much bigger chunks of spectrum. Current blocks of licensed low-band spectrum are usually 5 to 10 megahertz in width. With 5G, however, we're talking about blocks of spectrum that are at least 200 megahertz in width. And this will allow the networks to carry much more traffic per user. Gigabits of throughput in place of megabits of throughput. And the key point here is that by opening up these higher frequency bands, we're making available more licensed spectrum for mobile than in the cumulative history dating back to Reed Hunt that the FCC has heretofore made available. And we're not done.
What's up, everybody? Truth Seeker here. The rollout of 5G technology is a massive health experiment that will have disastrous consequences for the human race, according to the first major university study into controversial wireless service, and a coalition of 200 leading scientists and doctors are calling for an urgent stop to the rollout. 5G is being rolled out fast right now, without the FCC waiting for governmental standards, with Verizon testing it out in 11 U.S. cities and AT&T also conducting experiments. For those who don't know, 5G is the latest wireless system that telecommunication companies are trying to implement to service wireless communications. It's designed to allow faster downloads of more data. It uses the 28, 37, and 39 gigahertz bands, also known as millimeter wave spectrums. 5G, which comes from the term fifth generation, is designed to work in conjunction with what former CIA head David Petraeus called the Internet of Things. Now, I remember hearing about the Internet of Things when I was a kid, and this was probably about 7th or 8th grade. I remember it was like such a huge deal. It was talking about being able to tell if your coffee pot was ready, or you'd know your car was low on gas before you even got into it, because something would tell you on a device. This was before they even had mobile phones. This was an idea a long time ago when the internet first came out, and it was always just a thought. And that's what we see all these technologies today, all these smart devices. We got smart thermostats, smart homes, smart cars, smart phones. We have smart everything now that connects to this cloud, which is originally used to be called the Internet of Things. Now they're calling it the cloud. The agenda is to hook every single material thing on Earth, as well as humans themselves, onto a vast planet-wide web, where everything and everyone becomes nodes on the network. Many people are encouraging the advancement of 5G by their desire to all costs for convenience and speed. So people are foolishly valuing this over privacy, safety, and health. 5G is not merely an upgrade of wireless infrastructure, it is a giant leap towards the erection and installation of a total technology-controlled grid. The agenda is to cover the entire Earth, including rural areas, with the 5G electromagnetic blanket, so that its effects can literally not be escaped by anyone living on the planet.
We're already seeing the industry gearing up to seize this opportunity. I have seen 5G hardware and firmware. The technology is here. It is also important, however, to recognize that 5G technology will be a constant evolution. The systems and standards for 5G will be continually improving and evolving. And on the network side, Verizon and AT&T, and the first commercial deployments they're talking about are expected in 2020. This timeline requires that we act to pave the path today. The big game changer is that 5G will use much higher frequency bands than previously thought viable for mobile broadband and other applications. Such millimeter wave signals have physical properties that are both a limitation and a strength. They tend to travel best in narrow and straight lines, and they do not go through physical objects as well. But brilliant engineers have developed new antennas that can aim and amplify signals, coupled with sophisticated processing that allows a moving device to pick up all of the signals that are bouncing around. Now, to make this work, the 5G build-out is going to be very infrastructure intensive, requiring massive deployment of small cells. But it also opens up unprecedented opportunities for frequency reuse in denser, more localized networks. The ability to use this high-frequency spectrum opens much bigger chunks of spectrum. And the key point here is that by opening up these higher frequency bands, we're making available more licensed spectrum for mobile than in the cumulative history dating back to Reed Hunt that the FCC has heretofore made available.
So Tom Wheeler is pretty much a former corporate lobbyist using the good old revolving door at the top of the business political world. He now occupies a key government office to promote the agenda of his former industry, telecommunications. He is advocating the rollout of a game-changing technology with toxic and cancerous side effects for some that's going to affect all life on Earth, but he doesn't want to wait for the safety standards. Wheeler ignores and dodges the questions about the wireless radiation cancer connections.
Our BDS proceeding is dealing with that issue.
Lydia.
Hey Tom, with the
Hi, Lydia.
study showing wireless causes cancer subthermally, how can you proceed with more wireless expansion with our safety standards only recognizing thermal effects, ignoring thousands of studies showing cancerous effects, neurological effects, reproductive harm?
Lydia, do you have a question?
I do have a question, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
I'll answer your question, Lydia.
So here's a summary of his points. 5G will penetrate material objects better. Thanks to brilliant engineers, 5G radiation will be even harder to shield yourself against. 5G will be infrastructure sensitive. The plan is to erect even more radiation towers in every corner of the planet, adding a new meaning to the concept of electromagnetic soup. 5G will make tens of billions of dollars for its owners through unanticipated and unattended consequences. After this point, Wheeler slams his fist on the podium and says, "That's damn important." The 5G is going to go ahead without the FCC waiting for governmental standards. Wheeler proudly proclaims that unlike other countries, the U.S. cares about being first out of the gate. He suggests we turn innovators loose rather than wait for the committee to decide things. He defiantly declared that we won't wait for the standards. 5G will require the sharing of frequencies with the military. 5G is the technology basis for the Internet of Things. Wheeler states that hundreds of millions of microchips will be in everything, in every one eventually. All parts of the Earth will be covered, so there will be a urban and rural radiation saturation, a giant blanket pretty much going over the whole Earth, just covered in 5G. There's no way to escape it. It's the ultimate technological control grid. Like all things, the New World Order, 5G can be understood on many levels. Yes, it's about companies rushing forward to make money using unsafe technology and unproven products, a very familiar theme throughout human history. However, that's only the surface level. That is nothing new. The deeper level is really about the construction of a total technological control grid whose ultimate purpose is to know what you're thinking and feeling, and then being able to change what you're thinking and feeling so as to control your actions. In other words, complete technological slavery. Like many aspects, the worldwide conspiracy, most people who push forward their particular aspect of the overall agenda have no idea of the deeper ramifications or where the whole thing is headed. Human skin and sweat ducts are antennas and can be influenced, controlled by 5G technology. If you think that's far-fetched to connect 5G and the internet with the technological control grid, consider the latest evidence.
I'm Dr. Deborah Davis, and I'm here to talk with you today about the 5G that Environmental Health Trust is quite concerned about. This is a network that's being rolled out all over the country that will involve thousands of antennas. I love my devices as much as anyone else, but I don't want to put the health of my grandchildren at risk. I don't want to put them in harm's way, and we now know that the skin, our largest organ, does respond to 5G. And in fact, we have in our sweat ducts, they can act as antennas that can receive signals. Now, this has not been tested for safety. The fact that it can interact with our sweat ducts may have much more profound meanings for our overall health and well-being. The idea that we're going to saturate this country with a network that has never been tested is appalling. And I am joining with many other scientists from around the world now to express concerns and to say we must evaluate these things before we roll out the technology, no matter how attractive it is for us to have faster downloads of video games, pornography, or virtual reality. The question we have to ask ourselves, is it worth endangering the health of our children to do that?
The use of sub-terahertz millimeter wave communication technology, cell phones, Wi-Fi, network transmission antennas could cause humans to feel physical pain via nociceptors, stated Dr. Yale Stein, who wrote a letter to Federal Communications Commissions about 5G spectrum frontiers. I mean, think about it. Our natural rhythm is something close to the human resonance of Earth, which is 7.83 hertz. We are talking about frequency bands, not hundreds, not thousands, not millions, but actually billion times this frequency. 28 gigahertz is 28 billion cycles per second. Now we have electronic devices that operate in the terahertz band, which is trillions of hertz. To say this is completely unnatural is the understatement of the millennium. It is completely out of balance, disharmonious, and insane. It is wreaking havoc on our energy fields. So what exactly is the Internet of Things? Bruce Schneider describes it like this. Broadly speaking, the Internet of Things has three parts. There are the sensors that collect data about us and our environment, smart thermostat, street and highway sensors, and those ubiquitous smartphones with their motion sensors and GPS location receivers. Then there are the smarts that figure out what the data means and what to do about it. This includes all the computer processors on these devices and increasingly in the cloud, as well as the memory that stores all of this information. And finally, there are actuators that affect our environment. The point of a smart thermostat isn't to record the temperature, it's to control the furnace and the air conditioner. Driverless cars collect data about the road and the environment to steer themselves safely to their destinations. You could think of the sensors as the eyes and ears of the Internet. You could think of the actuators as the hands and feet of the Internet. And you could think of the stuff in the middle as the brain. We are building an Internet that senses, thinks, and acts. This is the classic definition of a robot. We're building a world-sized robot, and we don't even realize it. This world-sized robot is actually more than the Internet of Things. It is a combination of mobile computing, cloud computing, always-on computing, huge databases of personal information, and the Internet of Things, autonomy, and artificial intelligence. It'll get more powerful and more capable through all the interconnections we're building. It'll also get much more dangerous. Schneider is a computer expert, so his idea of dangerous seems to be limited to software flaws and hacking vulnerabilities. However, the conspiracy goes much deeper than that. The Internet of Things is slated to become the technological control grid in which every single material thing, living and non-living, is attached, and in so doing loses its independence and free will. The Internet of Things is a fake synthetic version of the already existing network of nature that surrounds us. However, the dark force behind this agenda cannot control that grid, so it is seeking to replace it with one that is detrimental to human health and in which all the nodes on the network can be controlled. This dark agenda, this synthetic agenda, this transhumanist agenda to erect a total technological control grid is unfurling way too fast for comfort. We all have to wake up and fast. With every year that passes, our technological evolution keeps outpacing our spiritual evolution. This can only lead to one thing. Technology will fall into the hands of the people with little or no scruples, will be happy to use it to further their own ends and enslave others. Luckily, some people are waking up too. Even people in positions of power, such as a group of mayors in Ohio, who have filed a lawsuit to stop 5G towers being erected in their counties, cities, and municipalities. This really is a race against time. If this technological control grid is rolled out in sufficient breadth and depth of reach and intensity, it will seriously impact our ability to resist it because it contains the capability to suppress that very resistance. We are living the plot of a science fiction film, but it's real life, and the consequences are deadly. Will humanity be able to recognize the truth quickly enough? Will we be able to stop the insanity and construction of the networks that enslave us? I guess only time will tell. What do you guys think about it? Definitely leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace. Please subscribe to our channel, like our video, and comment below, and we'll see you on the flip side. Peace! And don't forget to click the notification bell.